good evening and welcome to this week's programme, broadcasting to you live from the heart of WykeRegis. I hope you're all well and the weather is not too disappointing for this bank holiday weekend. In the news this week, Weymouth lifeboat, or Weymouth inshore lifeboat, in fact, hopefully a picture coming up of the lifeboat. Oh no, we've got the RNLI logo. Weymouth inshore lifeboat was launched at 3:58 on Wednesday this week at the request of Solent Coast Guard to take over the tow that had begun by the Swanage all-weather lifeboat. The Swanage lifeboat had taken a westerly 34-foot motor cruiser with one person on board in tow after it broke down. Due to the ebb tide and the request that the lone sailor wanted to come to Weymouth, it was decided to get Weymouth Lifeboat 8 to take over the tow. Officers from Weymouth Town Council have completed training so that they are now able to issue fixed penalty notices for a range of environmental offences. The trained officers have taken on additional responsibilities alongside their full-time roles. They'll now have the power to fine anyone caught committing a low-level offence, such as dropping litter, allowing their dogs to foul, or vandalism. The council aims to raise awareness and reduce the number of these sorts of incidents which impact on public safety and enjoyment of our area, and particularly our outdoor areas. The Range has opened in Weymouth yesterday at the former Debenhams building. More than 80 jobs have been created at the store and they've all been busy working around the clock to get everything ready for the opening. The new store is spread over 2 floors and will cover more than 45,000 square feet of space. The Costa branch that was on the ground floor and closed when Debenhams shut has also reopened for takeaways. The store has all the usual range products, such as home decor, lamps, tableware, snacks, and other homeware, furniture, garden accessories, arts and crafts, toys, and pet care products. A number of seaside specific products such as paddleboards and surfboards are also for sale, and if you look up to their upstairs windows on the first floor, they've got a nice display set up of that. The store can be accessed either via the multi-storey car park, as the old Debenhams store was, or via the ground floor entrance in New Bond Street. It has been announced that Dorset Museum, or the new Dorset Museum, will open to the public at the end of the month. The project to repurpose the museum started back in October 2018 and has been a particular challenge over the last year due to the pandemic. The new museum is almost all ready for the opening, and there are 4 permanent galleries, a special exhibition gallery, collection centre, library, shop and cafe. More of the museum's internationally significant collections of archaeology, art, literature, geology, natural and social history will be on display than ever before. Reimagined galleries have been designed and curated to inspire, with Dorset stories creatively interpreted using beautiful objects, hands-on interactive displays and stunning audio-visual presentations, all contained within an architecturally striking, ecologically sustainable new building. It does really sound great, and I've seen some pictures and I really do look forward to visiting the museum when it's open. The new museum also places accessibility at the heart of the visitor experience, with full wheelchair access, toilets, baby changing facilities on every level and a changing places toilet. Taste Cafe, who already have a successful outlet in Dorchester and on the Chesil Beach Visitor Centre, which people in Wyke will be very familiar with, will be running the stylish new cafe, serving a daily menu of fresh food and drinks. So that's really good news for the area and a project that's been going on for some time. It has been announced by Weymouth Town Council that grants are available to celebrate 450 years of Weymouth. Weymouth Town Council will offer grants to community groups wanting to mark the 450th anniversary of Weymouth. The council has agreed to allocate £15,000 to the grant fund, which will support local groups to deliver events and activities to celebrate the town's 450th anniversary this year. The money for the proposal will come from the town's grant budget underspend. The council is keen to support local people arranging celebrations in aid of the milestone and is encouraging anyone interested to get in touch with their ideas. It's hoped the financial support will enable a number of exciting community events to take place over the year. Grants will not be available for commercial events, but schools and not-for-profit organisations are eligible to apply. This year marks the 450 years from when Weymouth and WykeRegis were combined by way of royal charter. While it's thought Weymouth itself was established as early as the 10th century and its first charter was granted in 1252, it was confined to the south and west of the harbour. So hopefully some exciting events coming up this year to celebrate 450 years of Weymouth. It's also been announced that funds are available for Dorset community and cultural projects, this time from Dorset Council. A new fund launched on 30th of April will help kickstart new activities and projects supporting disadvantaged, marginalised or underserved groups in Dorset, including those affected by the COVID crisis. Charities, parish councils, constituted community groups and cultural organisations can apply for sums between £1,000 and £5,000 to support projects that will make a social impact, improve access to high quality cultural activities and align with the priorities set out in the Dorset Council's plan. More information about eligibility criteria and how to apply to the Community and Cultural Project Fund is available online. And I'll read out the website, but I'm sure if you go to the Dorset Council website you will find it. But it is www.dorsetcouncil.gov.uk/community-cultural-project-fund. But I'm sure if you put in Dorset Council Community and Cultural Project Fund in Google, you will find it. Applications need to be in by the 11th of June. The opening of a new fast food pizzeria, or pizzeria, whatever you call them, where they sell pizzas anyway, in Weymouth, which will create up to 35 jobs, has been delayed slightly. It was supposed to open last week, but Sbarro is an American pizza-era chain that specialises in New York-style pizza and other Italian-American cuisine. It's opening at Link Park, opposite the Aldi in Chickerell, and it's going to move in alongside Burger King. While work to fit out the branch and install signage is underway, its original open date of yesterday has been delayed. It now hopes to open on Friday, May the 7th, but that's not confirmed yet, so watch this space. The new outlet will be the first in the southwest, and it's going to create between 30 and 35 jobs in the area, and they are looking for pizza chefs, team managers, assistant managers and supervisors, and they've been advertising locally. So if you're interested there, do look online and see if there's a job there for you. Dorset Council have said that Dorset's polling stations will be safe places to vote this week. Of course, on Thursday this week, the 6th of May, will be the elections for some local councillors, particularly in Weymouth for WykeRegis Ward and Preston Ward, and the Dorset Police and Crime Commissioner. The elections on the 6th of May for these Dorset councils putting in place many of the measures that we've all become familiar with over the last year. Measures to ensure the voting experience is safe include social distancing inside and outside the polling stations, limits on numbers of people inside the polling stations, maximum ventilation of polling stations, hand sanitizer and regular cleaning. Voters will be required to follow the signage and any other instructions at their polling stations, and you'll be encouraged to take your own pens and pencils. However, if you forget, there will be some provided for you if you don't bring your own. Face coverings are required inside the polling stations unless you're exempt, and election staff will also be wearing face coverings. If anyone needs support to complete a ballot paper, they can take someone with them to help them, for example, a carer or support worker. The person helping must either be a close relative or someone eligible to vote in that election, and they must not already have helped more than one person to vote at the same election. So if you're a carer, you can't go in with one person after another. It's one carer can only visit once with one person, so that's an important thing to note. Anyone who tests positive for COVID or displays symptoms should self-isolate and not visit the polling station. Now, there is arrangements in place for emergency proxy voting. So if somebody becomes ill at the last minute and is unable to vote because they're self-isolating or shielding on the day of the elections, they will be able to appoint someone else to vote on their behalf up to 5 p.m. on the polling date. So that's important to note. Additional toilets are always a good one, aren't they, are hopefully going to be installed at the cafe on Nose Parade. So that's as you go along the south side of the harbour out towards the Stone Pier. Dorset Council is being asked to agree for 2 additional cubicles alongside the existing toilet on the east of the building to be built facing the Stone Pier. Another toilet is already in place on the opposite side of the cafe closest to the town. The cafe, which is very popular with locals, nestles under the Nose Fort and has been redecorated and improved over recent years. And I was down there just a couple of weeks ago when I went to film the new MV Freedom coming into the harbour, and I have to say the cafe was quite busy and it was looking very spick and span, and lots of nice stuff on offer. Comments on the application, which can be seen on the Dorset Council website, are open until the end of May. A decision is expected to be made by a planning officer rather than going to the councillors at the planning committee. Another story that sort of goes back to something we covered a month or so ago. A Weymouth woman was targeted by thieves after a catalytic converter was stolen from her Honda Jazz in broad daylight. You'll say, we'll remember we covered this article on catalytic converter theft about a month or so ago. The woman, who wants to remain anonymous, said on Saturday, that's last Saturday, around noon, she parked at the Swannery car park in Radipole Park Drive. A couple of hours later, she returned to a car where she drove off and was shocked rigid after she described her car as sounding like a tank, after thieves had removed the exhaust emission control device, the catalytic converter. She said, "It was a lively day and there were so many people about. I parked my car and walked into the town centre. After returning, I drove my car, which sounded like a tank. My son is a mechanic, so I asked him to look at it immediately. He checked and said the catalytic converter had been cut off." The catalytic converters form a part of the car's exhaust system. They contain a honeycomb coated with precious metals such as platinum, palladium and rhodium, which help to reduce the filter harmful gases from the vehicle's exhaust system. Now, these are obviously very precious metals, certainly when you start talking about things like platinum. Cars that have converters stolen can be legally driven, but replacement catalytic converters can cost up to £1,000. So it's an expensive theft if you've had one of these cut off from the bottom of your vehicle. In a previous report, police have warned car owners locally, particularly those that drive Honda Jazzes and Honda CR-V models, to be vigilant after the rise in thefts. Remember, this happened in broad daylight in a public car park. So if you see anybody acting suspicious, or you know anything about this incident last weekend, please do give Dorset Police a call on 101. Or if you don't want to reveal who you are and you have some important information, you can report it anonymously through Crime Stoppers, the independent charity who keep your information anonymous, on 0800 555 111. That's 0800 555 111. And what happens is Crime Stoppers pass on the information, but they don't pass on the source of the information. So it keeps you safe if you're concerned about people knowing you've reported some information. Changes in COVID regulations come into place on the 17th of May, and the rules on social contact will be one of the biggest changes. From May the 17th, restrictions on seeing friends and family will be eased further, with most outdoor mixing rules being lifted. The only legal restriction to remain in place for outdoor gatherings is a limit of 30 people. People will be able to meet indoors once again. However, the rule of 6 or 2 households will remain in place. Now, it also affects sporting events and some larger performances, and the following will be allowed. So indoor venues with a capacity of 1,000 people, or half of that if they're a larger venue. Outdoor venues with a capacity of 4,000 people, or half of that if they're a large venue. And large outdoor seated venues, this is your big football stadiums, where crowds can be spread out up to 10,000 people. So it does mean now that some of our theatres and cinemas and some of our football grounds and those sorts of places can reopen. So that's obviously good news. On social events, weddings, receptions and wakes, as well as funerals, can now all have up to 30 people. And the same will apply to other significant life events such as christenings and bar mitzvahs. Indoor hospitality will reopen, including pubs and restaurants, which up until now have only permitted catering for people seated outside. Customers will, however, need to remain seated while ordering, eating and drinking, and social distancing measures between tables must remain in place. Entertainment venues, including children's play centres, cinemas, children's play areas and museums, will also reopen. So things are starting to reopen. If we are all sensible, then hopefully that will continue to happen as we get into the summer. And that's the end of our headlines tonight. So now on to our main stories. As we mentioned earlier in the programme, Thursday sees the local elections and also the Police and Crime Commissioner elections. So this week, in the last of our pieces on our local elections, we asked Lydia to look at the candidates standing for the Police and Crime Commissioner in particular.
This week on Thursday, residents across Dorset will go to the polls. In WykeRegis we have 2 votes. The first is to vote for a local councillor for Weymouth Town Council, and we have interviewed the 3 candidates over recent weeks. They are Claudia Webb for the Green Party, Becky Blake for the Labour Party and Joanna Dickinson for the Conservatives. If you missed the interviews, please do look back on the WykeRegis TV Facebook page, or our YouTube channel. Also at the same time, for everyone across Dorset there will be the chance to vote for their choice for the county's Police and Crime Commissioner, known as the PCC for short. The PCC is responsible for holding the Chief Constable to account, and with the Chief Constable for spending of around £150 million, half of which is collected from local taxpayers through the police precept. Police and crime commissioners are supposed to be the voice of the people within policing and set police priorities and the force's budgets. 5 candidates are standing for the Dorset PCC, and these are who you will have a chance to vote for. Patrick Canavan is the Labour Party candidate. Patrick is a former trade union officer and law graduate and was also the Labour candidate for the role of PCC in 2016. He says he has considerable experience dealing with a range of bodies and bringing about organisational change. Among his priorities is crime prevention through greater community focus, to support multi-agency efforts to tackle antisocial behaviour and drug trafficking. He has also promised to increase support for victims of crime to create confidence in reporting them and to improve prosecution rates in cases of domestic violence, abuse and hate crime. And his manifesto also pledges to work with outside organisations to encourage rehabilitation and reduce reoffending. Mark Robson is the Liberal Democrats candidate. Mark is a Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole councillor and is a former Royal Marine who served in Bosnia, Afghanistan and Iraq and commanded part of the national counter-terrorist response. Mark says this has given him experience of planning large budgets and collaborating with a range of organisations. His priorities include improving support for victims of crime and to do more to improve domestic abuse and child exploitation work. He said he would also put greater focus on tackling fraud and scammers and on enforcing driving rules. He has also promised to expand Dorset Police's drone and rural crime teams. Claire Seymour is the Green Party candidate. Claire is a strategic lead for antisocial behaviour for a housing association. She has worked with Dorset Police as an analyst and with a range of charities and organisations, including Victim Support and the county's Domestic Abuse Forum. Claire says she would bring a fresh perspective to policing issues. Included in her priorities is more focus on domestic abuse, sexual violence and improving general crime prevention efforts. She has also pledged to give greater support to police staff and volunteers and victims and witnesses of crime, through greater community working. Dan Hardy is an independent candidate. Dan is a former police officer and security firm managing director who lives in Poole. Dan says he has substantial experience with a well-structured and carefully costed plan should he be elected to the role. It includes 4 main priority areas, the first of which is a pledge to increase police officer numbers above levels planned by the government, and to improve partnerships with councils and businesses. And it promises an effective plan that would allow Dorset Police to work efficiently and free from political influence. Better collaboration is also promised with the aim of reducing crime as well as more work to reduce reoffending and to divert offenders from criminal cycles. David Sidgwick is the Conservative Party candidate. David is a Bournemouth businessman. David says he said his career has given him the experience of dealing with substantial budgets and a grounding in strategy, communication and resource allocation. He has created a 6-point plan, outlining his priorities for the position with top billing given to cutting crime and the constant grind of antisocial behavior. It also promises to make policing more visible, to tackle organized gangs and to put greater emphasis on dealing with rural crime. He has also promised to improve the support for victims of crime and for communities while making every penny count by cutting administration demands on police staff. So there you are, that is the 5 candidates who will be standing for PCC. Don't forget this Thursday the 6th of May is your chance to vote for the PCC, and if you live in WykeRegis, a councillor for the Weymouth Town Council. The polling cards that should have come through your door recently will tell you where and what times you can vote.
There we go. Thank you, Lydia, for giving us the information on the 5 candidates for the PCC. And we will put that video up separately on our Facebook group, as we have done with the ones for the town council candidates. That's the WykeRegis TV Facebook group. That will go up on, so anybody can share it if they wish to, or look at it again. Or obviously the whole programme will go up on the various YouTube channels and Facebook groups as well, and you'll be able to find it in a copy of the whole programme. Today is the 1st of May, or May Day, and one of the main holidays in the UK, with Monday being one of our regular bank holiday days. We know that, don't we, because of the weather. We've had a couple of good bank holidays, but we are back this weekend to traditional English bank holiday weather. Well, this week, Janet Hall looks at May Day and where it comes from.
Hello again. Today is May the 1st, May Day. It's a festival much forgotten these days. Some people believe that the celebrations on May Day begin with Beltane, a festival recognising the Celtic god of light and sun, Bel, or maybe the tree worship of the ancient Druids. Others believe the festival goes back to the spring festivals of ancient Egypt and India. However, it is more likely that it comes from Italy. The people of ancient Rome honoured Flora, the goddess of flowers and springtime, with a festival called Florialia. The goddess was represented by a small statue wreathed in garlands. A procession of singers and dancers carried the statue past a sacred blossom-decked tree. Later, festivals of this kind spread to other lands conquered by the Romans, and this, of course, included Britain. The May Day festival reached its height in England during the Middle Ages. On the first day of May, English villagers woke at daybreak to roam the countryside, gathering blossoming flowers and branches. Usually the Morris dance was performed by dancers wearing bells on their colourful costumes. Often the fairest maiden of the village was chosen Queen of the May. Sometimes a May King was also chosen, and these two led the village dancers and ruled over the festivities. In Elizabethan times, the King and Queen were called Robin Hood and Maid Marian. May Day festivities became so much fun that in 1654 the Puritans attempted to make the celebrations illegal, banning even the making of maypoles. They especially attempted to suppress the greenwood marriages of young men and women who spent the entire night in the forest, staying out to greet the sunrise and bringing back boughs of flowers and garlands to decorate the village the next morning. After the Puritans, gradually many of the customs came back, and some of them are still practised all over England. One popular May Day custom was the making of a maypole. Early in the day, the villagers would go to the nearest woodland and cut down a young tree. The tree, usually a birch tree, would be stripped of its branches, except at the top, where the leaves symbolised new life, and dragged or carried to an open space in the town square or village green. It was then decorated with garlands of flowers and ribbons. Historians believe the cutting of the maypole was the villagers' way of establishing their right to cut wood freely from the forest. Traditionally, the dancing was done by women, but has now become a popular children's activity. Each child holds one of the coloured ribbons and circles the maypole with a hopping, skipping step. Some of the children dance in one direction, while others dance the opposite way round the pole, changing their direction at carefully chosen moments. As they dance, the children pass each other until the ribbons are plaited together and tightly wrapped around the maypole. When the circle is as small as it can be, the dance is reversed and the ribbons unwind until the dancers come back to their starting places. As someone who has taught maypole dancing to many first school children, I can tell you it isn't always quite as simple as I have just made it sound. Sometimes children and ribbons and maypole can end up in quite a knot. Maypoles were usually set up for the day in small towns and villages as a centre point for the day's celebrations. You can still see the place marked where Weymouth's maypole used to be erected. Do you know where it is? May Day is actually the one festival of the year for which there is no significant church service. Because of this, it has always been a strong secular festival, particularly among the working class, who would often take the day off to celebrate it without their employer's approval. It was a popular custom, a people's day, and so it became identified with the labour and socialist movements, and by the 20th century it was rooted as part of the socialist calendar. In the UK, the 1st of May is not an official Labour Day, and we don't mark it with a public holiday, but it's celebrated by many workers and trade unions. May Day has traditionally been a day of protest in the UK, with marches calling for workers' rights and international solidarity. So, whether you celebrate it as a day for marching for your rights or for dancing round a maypole, I hope the rest of your May Day is a very happy one. Goodbye for now.
Thank you, Janet. Telling us all about May Day. Obviously not such a fine May Day this year, but we never know. The weather might be wrong, and we'll see what the weather brings in store for us the rest of the weekend shortly. Of course, it's very good that things are opening back up and slowly the COVID restrictions are lifting, and we covered some of that in the news earlier. And hopefully by the end of June, things will almost be back to normal, and many of those things that we've missed doing we'll be able to do again. As well as the restrictions, the massive rollout of the vaccination programme is what has made this eventually possible and has got the virus back under control. However, some groups, and we hear it in the news, are harder to encourage to take the vaccination. And the government and the NHS are working hard to encourage as many people as possible to get vaccinated. Our next report looks at the latest way the NHS is trying to encourage people and where they are overall with the vaccination programme. Yesterday, the NHS joined forces with an all-star lineup to launch a new public information video to encourage people to come forward to be vaccinated. And before 9 a.m, 120,000 vaccine appointments had been booked. The short film released yesterday by the NHS targeted vaccination bookings for those 40 and 41 years old. The flood of new bookings followed the third new group of people being invited to come forward in just a week, with everyone aged 40 and over now eligible to get a vaccination slot. Sir Lenny Henry, Liz Hurley and David Walliams joined TV actors Lydia West and Navin Chowdhury to dispel myths around vaccinations and to boost the uptake of the NHS COVID jab. The film is the second commissioned by Professor Lord Darcy, the doctor who is the co-director of the Institute of Global Health Innovation, part of the Imperial React COVID Surveillance Study Group, and who also volunteered on COVID wards at the height of the pandemic. It comes as the NHS announced that more than 9 in 10 people aged over 45 have received at least one dose of the vaccine. Overall, 2/3 of the adult population in England have received their first dose, and more than a quarter have now been fully vaccinated. Viewers will remember the first light-hearted film featured Sir Michael Caine and Sir Elton John going head-to-head in an audition for a COVID information film. The new film also shows stars auditioning as they tackle common rumours and misconceptions around the COVID vaccine and encourage everyone to get jabbed when it's their turn. It opens with Sir Lenny Henry saying people in black, Asian and ethnic minority communities are 20% less likely to take up the vaccine. Lydia West of drama It's a Sin, which gripped the nation earlier this year, goes on to address some common concerns which may prevent people getting the vaccine. Doctors, nurses and other healthcare professionals are delivering the life-saving jab at more than 1,600 sites, ranging from cathedrals, mosques and temples to racecourses, sports stadiums, cinemas and museums. Locally, vaccinations are being undertaken at the Pavilion Ocean Room in Weymouth and at Weymouth Hospital, and up the road in Dorchester at Dorset County Hospital. More than 460,000 people in Dorset have now received their first COVID-19 vaccine, with 647,000 doses delivered in Dorset overall and rising daily. So in case you haven't seen the new short film, here it is for you now.
Vaccination audition, take 1.
Sir Dr. Lenworth George Henry, CBE.
Lenworth? It's just a casting, Lenny will do.
Lenny Henry. People in the black, Asian, ethnic and minority community are 20% less likely to take up the vaccine.
A bit more serious on this next line for me, Lenny?
Shall I do Trevor McDonald?
Why not? I might like it.
The vaccine does not contain the live virus and is definitely working.
I didn't like it. Next.
It doesn't contain pork or any material of animal origin.
It's not for theatre, Lydia. Think TV for me.
It's gone through the same strict testing as all vaccines.
Ugh, let's go online.
There's no evidence that it affects fertility.
Hashtag vaccine, hashtag I love it.
Hashtag.
The more people in society that get vaccinated, the more chance there is of eradicating the national COVID pandemic.
Very nice, cut there. Can we make it more David Walliams, please?
It's really important that people of all ages get the jab!
It's a no from me, I'm afraid, David. Any vaccination acting experience?
I did have my BCG at school.
That's a no then. And action.
As me or David Walliams?
No one wants to see David Williams again.
Okay. There is no scientific evidence to say that the vaccine is any less effective in people from ethnic and minority backgrounds. So let's all try and support our community and take the vaccine.
We will just let you know.
Thank you.
Any chance of anyone royal, Claire? Oh, okay. Better than nothing. And action.
So roll up your sleeve. It's not just your own life you'll be saving, it's other people's lives too. Any good?
Very good, Your Majesty.
My name is Elton John.
Look, Elton, you didn't get it last time, you're not getting it this time.
I don't normally do auditions, but I think I was good in there. I hope I got the job.
There we go. That's the latest government information film trying to get those hard-to-reach groups to get vaccinated. Hopefully most of you have been vaccinated, and I think we're particularly lucky in the South Dorset and Weymouth area in particular, as I think our vaccination centres have been working incredibly hard and we seem to be way ahead of other areas, which is really, really good news. Now, what does the weather hold in store for us the rest of this weekend? And we're going over to our weatherman, Alex Deacon, at the Met Office.
Hello, welcome along to your latest update from the Met Office. A 3-day weekend and the weather's going to stay fairly mixed. Again, we'll have sunshine and showers on Saturday, and the whole weekend will stay on the chilly side with morning frosts likely. On Sunday, well, again, there will be sunshine and showers, but probably not as many showers around. A better chance of staying completely dry. Whereas for Monday, although there's still quite a bit of uncertainty about the timing of the rain and the extent of the rain and how strong the winds are, it does look as if we will see a spell of wet and windy swinging across the country this bank holiday Monday. Again, it's going to turn pretty fresh pretty quickly on Saturday evening. The showers will keep going for a time inland, but they do again fade out, and again hints of blue on the chart there, suggesting again in rural spots we'll start with a frost on Sunday. But again, many will start Sunday with some sunshine. Now again, the showers will get going through the day, but I suspect perhaps not as many as on Saturday. Far from completely dry everywhere, but there's a better chance that your day will be drier across parts of Wales, southwest England, maybe western Scotland as well. There will be a bit more cloud perhaps across the far northwest, but many places will again, at least for some times during the day, see some sunshine. And when the sun's out, temperatures again creeping up into the teens, perhaps a little higher compared to Friday's values on Saturday and Sunday, 13, 14 in the south, 10 or 11 further north. With light winds in the sunshine, it shouldn't feel too bad, but again, these values are below average for this time of year. That weak area of high pressure tends to disappear as you go through Sunday night, and that low pressure that we saw earlier starts to wind itself up and spread its way across the UK. It's going to be accompanied by some very strong winds, unusually windy for the time of year, and the weather fronts will provide outbreaks of rain. But this is a developing system, and there's some uncertainty about the exact track. It could be a little further south, it could be a little further north. So in terms of detail of when it will start to rain and how gusty the winds will be, you need to stay up to date for that. We'll have more details over the next couple of days. But a spell of wet and windy weather is likely for all of us at some point on Bank Holiday Monday. So if you've got plans, as I said, stay tuned to the updates. Make sure you keep across the Met Office, and the best way to do that is to follow us on social media.
Thank you, Alex, with the national weather forecast for this weekend, a typical bank holiday weekend. So what does the weather hold in store for us locally this week? Well, unfortunately, it's a bit more of the same. It's going to be wet most days. When it's not wet, it's going to be a mixture of cloudy with sunny spells. It's no doubt that Monday will be the worst day of the week. But tomorrow we might be lucky and get a bit more sunshine tomorrow. But we'll keep our fingers crossed. But a changeable week. Mild, wet, changeable, sunny spells. And that's what's in store for us this coming week. What about our traffic and travel this weekend and for the week ahead? Well, roadworks continue in WykeRegis and beyond, particularly being undertaken by Wessex Water. Works continue in Galway Road, a start in Bowhays Drive, and continue in Mandeville Road in the week ahead. Southern Gas Networks are also doing work this week in Wyke Road. And Scottish and Southern will be undertaking work on the Chickerell Link Road this week. Good news though, if you're travelling on the trains this weekend or the week ahead, there are no planned engineering works on the trains this weekend or the week ahead affecting services from Weymouth. Now turning to our what's on, as we said, things are starting to open up. So the first thing I would say is if you like going to the theatre, do take a look at the Pavilion website. I had a look this afternoon and they are starting to populate some of the shows that are coming up and will be starting later this month in just a couple of weeks' time. So do have a look. Do support our local Pavilion. It's a community interest company, so it's not for profit, run basically for us as a service by mainly by volunteers. So do support them. The Knowth Fort is open. It has been open outside areas, and they will continue to open up. They will have Dorset Arts Week at the Knowth from the 22nd of May to the 6th of June. and lots of people get involved in Dorset Art Week, so that's good. And also half-term week, the 31st of May to the 6th of June, the Noth is bringing you the long-awaited Mission to Save the Noth Fort, following the cancellation of the event earlier in January. Find the clues, break the code and disarm the bomb in this unique event, celebrating the history of spies in Weymouth and Portland during the Cold War. That sounds really, really interesting. And if the usual Noth Fort events are anything to go by, it's well worth a visit and really good for the family. Also, the Sea Life Centre is open. The outside areas are open, and hopefully they will be opened up further later this month. Weymouth Museum is scheduled to reopen on the 20th of May, and as we said, the new Dorset Museum later in the month as well. So lots of things starting to happen, and hopefully we'll be hearing some more about some events that are happening over the summer months in the next week or two. If you've got any events you're getting involved in or promoting, or if you're an organisation that has not been operating and you're starting to open up again, do let us know so we can share it with local people and get you some support. We now move on to our film for this week, and the film this week is called Locked Down, appropriately, and it's from Warner Brother Pictures. So what happens when a couple are about to separate and become stuck home during lockdown? It's a romantic drama with a twist. Well, it's called a dramedy, which I think is actually a cross between a comedy and a drama. Dramedy, is that a real word? Don't know. We'll have to find out. Just as they decide to separate, Linda and Paxton find life has other plans when they are stuck at home in a mandatory lockdown. Cohabitation is proving to be a challenge, but fueled by poetry and copious amounts of wine, it will bring them closer together in the most surprising way. The film stars Anne Hathaway, Chitwell Ejiofor, Stephen Merchant, Mindy Kaling, Lucy Boynton, Mark Gatiss, Claes Bang, Ben Stiller and Ben Kingsley in supporting roles. Paxton and Linda are a disgruntled couple living in London amid the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. Paxton is able to get only jobs as a delivery truck driver due to an assault that he was arrested for 10 years prior, and is upset how his life has turned out. Due to stores being shut down, there's a limited amount of drivers available for high-value deliveries, so Paxton's boss reaches out and asks him to make runs under a false identity for him. Linda, who is a CEO of a fashion company, is tasked with clearing out inventory at Harrods department store. She soon realises their delivery schedule at the store overlaps, and Paxton would not get past the security checkpoint Linda has set up. Linda discloses that there is a £3 million diamond in the vault at Harrods that has been sold to an anonymous buyer, and the store keeps a duplicate on location. She and Paxton agree to take the real diamond for themselves and send the fake one to the buyer in New York City, splitting the sale between themselves and the National Health Service. Lockdown is released on digital download on the 10th of May. It's available for video on demand on the 24th of May and will be out on DVD in the 7th of June. And we've got the trailer coming up. And I have to admit, I've had to blank out some of the sound in two places because the language was not appropriate for this time of the day.
Hi, Paxton. We heard London's in total lockdown.
We are all locked in this psychological prison of burning aloneness.
How's Linda?
She's somewhere in the house.
Is there some type of issue?
We are fine.
Not only is everything not okay, nothing is okay.
Linda said she was planning to end our thing.
Nobody wants to live alone.
For 2 weeks, we are locked together here.
You know, you think I'm so happy and normal.
No, I'd never accuse you of being happy and normal.
'Cause I'm not!
Shaky ground.
I've been furloughed. Now there is literally zero purpose to my life. I'm going to get provisions.
We need milk, bread.
Boy, how many asses have you got?
The nice people that I fired, they were fired because of me. It's not about the virus, it's about who I am and what I do for a living.
You fired them well.
Thank you.
Is that a glass of wine?
Yes, yeah, it is.
We have a situation, Paxton. All the major department stores are closing. They want everything out in the next 4 days.
We have a problem. At Harrods, we have $4 million worth of jewelry. Someone's gonna have to pack the valuables up.
I believe you are a man who can be trusted.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I can be trusted.
It's gonna have to be someone that we trust, so that means inevitably it's gonna be me.
What are you taking out of Harrods?
A diamond.
Since lockdown, I'm looking back at myself like that was then, and this is now. The bastards who told me to fire those people, they are bad. You and I are good, and good is better than bad.
You're talking about stealing a diamond. £3 million. Live wild or die, Linda.
And I'm feeling good.
Harrods is the most glamorous store in the world. I know all the security guards. I know the security systems.
I just need to get the gentleman's name.
His name? Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar Allan Poe!
Wow.
What can go wrong?
Lock down one last ride.
O Lord who art in heaven,
Oh my God,
forgive us the sin of deception.
Aging Edgar Allan Poe. Mr. Edgar Allan Poe, please report to security.
It's a new dawn, it's a new day.
Who'd have thought a month ago we'd be doing this?
Not me.
And I'm feeling good.
There we go. That's Locked Down from Warner Brothers Pictures. Looks a bit of fun, that film. And it's good that the films are starting to come back out, and hopefully cinemas open up soon as well. So it just leaves me to remind you of what's coming up. Of course, tonight at 7:30 we will have our usual quiz programme, which you're all very welcome to join us on all the usual channels. If you're interested in the church services in Wyke, at 9:30 tomorrow morning there's a service at All Saints Church, and 11 at St Edmund's Church, and the 9:30 service is live streamed as well. On Friday, don't forget, we have our gardening programme, A Year in Gardening with Clive Gray, at 7 p.m. So if you're a gardening person, some good tips coming from Clive every Friday night at 7 o'clock. And of course, if you like to get your local news throughout the week and you like to listen to it, don't forget our local community stations, Keep 106 Radio, Air 107.2 Radio, and online Chesil Radio, all run by volunteers for you in your community. Other than that, I wish you all a really good week. I hope the weather is not too bad over the rest of the bank holiday weekend. Have a safe week, have a good week, and I look forward to seeing you all again at 6 p.m. next Saturday.